Welcome back to Lumberjacks Off Ice. My guest today is Lumberjacks all-time penalty minute leader, Mitch Wilson, one of the toughest and also most popular players on the team. And Mitch, welcome to the program today. And right from the start, I want to straighten something up before you get on me. I know you're going to tell me about this. Friday night in Salt Lake City, you were involved in an altercation with the Golden Eagles, Kerry Clark. You dropped the gloves, and from my vantage point way up at the top of the Salt Palace, it was hard to see who was getting the good blows in, and I inadvertently maybe said that you may have come out on the short end of that little altercation. Since then, I have been corrected, and I want to tell you that your record is still intact, and I was wrong.
Well, thanks a lot, Bob. The boys were mentioning that maybe we should send you in for a little eye checkup, but I wasn't going to be the one to say anything.
What happened in that fight anyway, since I called it incorrectly?
Well, I think just like you said before, in Salt Lake, you're so far away from the play, and I think you were only facing him. You were seeing his back, so you couldn't see. It was, you know, just your basic little hockey fight. He hit me a couple times at the start, and then I thought I finished real strong, which I usually do, and you probably just couldn't see, Bob.
Now, you mentioned something that is one of your characteristics, and that's finishing strong. When you get involved in an altercation, a lot of times you'll be hanging in close, real tight, and maybe let the other guy swing for a little while, but it seems like in the end you do your best. Is that something that you've always done?
That's probably been my strong point all along, is the end of whenever I'm in the altercation, but I think the reason being for that is because I give away a lot in size, so it usually takes me a little while to get in where I might say close so I can get a hold of a guy. It's not actually close for me because I'm not as big as the other guy, but I usually have to work my way inside and get to where I'm in a position where I can control him a little bit. Otherwise, you know, I can get hurt if I stay out a little further.
Mitch, you mentioned that most of the time you give away size, and you do. At 5'8", 189 pounds, you are smaller in stature than most of the people that you drop the gloves with, but that doesn't seem to matter much. It looks like you actually enjoy taking on the big guys, the David versus Goliath syndrome.
Well, yeah, I've always said it's better to fight a big guy, because then if you do lose, Bob, you got a pretty good excuse. But if you fight a little guy and you lose, everybody goes, what happened? But if you fight a big guy and you lose and they go, what happened? And you go, well, see the size of that guy?
But you took on a pretty big guy on Saturday night, Enrico Ciccone, the rookie from the Kalamazoo Wings, that was noted as being one of the tougher individuals in the league this year. But you handled him pretty well, especially after the headbutt in that altercation on Saturday.
Yeah, can you imagine that? A young guy like that thinking he has a harder head than I do? But I fought with Enrico before, and I thought I did well that time in Kalamazoo too. And you know, he is a tough kid and stuff like that, but you know, I still have a few tricks up my sleeve, so I thought we did all right in that. And you know, maybe it'll help us next time we play him. Maybe I slowed him down enough that he won't take quite so many liberties with some of the other guys.
Mitch, that's a good point that you bring up. You know, a lot of the fans, when they watch hockey fights, they think it's just because people like to beat on each other or whatever, but a lot of times fights are for reasons. And in certain instances, protecting some of the guys that have been taken advantage of by bigger individuals, and also maybe setting the tone for the rest of the game, and maybe in putting some fear into the other team. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct, and especially like when we're at home the other night, I thought he was taking liberties with his stick and his elbows and stuff on a few of our smaller players that don't quite play the same way I do. So it's, you know, I either go out there and try to take a poke at somebody or try to get a little piece of him just to let him know that, you know, that's not the way you play in our arena. And then also when you're on the road, you like to maybe set your own tone so they know what you're there to do. And that sometimes makes everybody on the team a little more comfortable, and you get that feeling, well, we're not going to get pushed around tonight even though we are on the road. So you'd like to get the upper edge that way. It's the same as, you know, scoring goals. You want to get more goals. Well, when it comes to physical hockey, you want to be the physical team. You don't want to be the one getting pushed.
Mitch, one of the things that's impressed me about you is the fact that a lot of times players get into a situation where they don't necessarily play their role, and you're a guy that knows his role. You know that you're out there to play physical. You do add goals sometimes, but your main role is to be a policeman out there, and you do it very well, and you don't stray from that too much. Is it hard to stay focused at times? I mean, I'm sure you'd like to be the guy to put the puck in the net all the time, but you know that maybe perhaps that isn't your job.
I know that my role, I guess if you want to call it a role, is to play physical and let the team know there's another presence out there. And it sure feels nice to score goals. And I think I'm to the point now in my career with my age that, we're trying to bring a lot of young guys along. And so my ice time's been cut down, which I don't mind if it helps a young guy and maybe he will make it to the NHL. I can say I might have helped him. But I don't mind playing that way, but it does get tougher as you get a little older. But, I get along good with the coaches, and we've expressed what I'm to do and what they like me to do. They don't tell me to go out and play like that, but, I like to play like that. I always have. And sometimes you don't feel like it, but when I see somebody take liberties on some of our guys, I don't even think about it. It's just kind of a natural thing with me.
But you have proven in the past that you can put the puck in the net. In 1987-88, you had 25 goals, 52 total points, and 400 minutes, which I would think would be a dream season for you.
No, Bob. 27 goals.
27 goals. All right.
It's not like you, Bob, to be off on the stats.
But that was a season that I would think would be a dream season for you. I mean, you were able to contribute offensively and do your normal duties as well.
Yeah, that was a nice season for me. I've enjoyed 3 nice seasons here in Muskegon, and it's always nice to put some points on the boards. But I always just try to play what my strong point is in my game, and I have been doing that. And I was just not so much lucky as I just had some good years where I did put some points on the boards, which is nice.
Throughout your 9-year career, you've been on 3 champions with the Maine team in 1984 in the American Hockey League, and with the Jacks, of course, in 1989. And then you've been on a couple of Hubert Trophy championships as well. What are the highlights for you? Well, what years have you enjoyed the most?
Well, I've enjoyed all my years in Muskegon because we've won quite a bit. This year is a little bit more of a struggle, but I'm hoping to make this season like the one when I did win in Maine. We just squeaked into the playoffs in Maine in the last month of the season, and I think we just made it in the 3rd place, and we went on a heck of a drive into the playoffs, and we ended up winning. So I don't think it's so much where you finish as how you finish. As long as we make the playoffs and get in, hopefully we can just roll everything right into the playoffs and make it a year like I had in Maine. So I guess for my favorite years, I'd have to say it was the one we won here, and then one year I won in Maine, and then I was lucky enough to play in the NHL on a couple different teams and a couple different times, which was really nice.
Well, that, of course, being with the New Jersey Devils and the Pittsburgh Penguins. I believe you played 26 games between the 2 clubs, and obviously that's everybody's dream as soon as they lace up the skates when they're young to get to the NHL, and it had to be a great feeling for you.
Yeah, it's the kind of feeling, especially maybe more so for a Canadian kid, because that was one of the only things I used to watch when I was a kid, is the Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's always a dream when you're playing hockey, is to play in the NHL, the same as a high school football player around here wants to play in the NFL, and it was a big thrill for me.
Did it mean more to Mitch the fact that you weren't drafted coming out of juniors? You're a player that had to work your tail off, so to speak, all your life to get ahead in hockey, and then you made it to the top of your profession?
I've never really thought of it like that. I look at it as I just got bypassed in the draft a couple of years. I still had a couple of opportunities. Maybe it worked out better for me, because if I would have got drafted by one team, that's the only place I could have went to try out for. As it worked out, I had a couple NHL teams interested in me, so I got to feel both teams out, and I got to go where I thought I had a better chance. So maybe it worked out better for me. Obviously in the pocketbook it didn't work out as good, because when you do get drafted, you tend to sign for more money, and your contract's a little more lucrative to start with. But we're not going to think about anything like that. We're just glad that out of my 9 years I've been able to do what I have.
Mitch, when most people think of you, they see you dropping the gloves, they think of the rough, tough guy, but I know a difference.